Hey guys, happy Thursday, and I hope you're all having a great day as always. Hope you got something fun planned for the weekend. Somebody told me the fair ends this weekend. I'm kind of bummed about that because I'm not going to be able to go. But whatever you do this weekend, I hope it's great. Listen, the lesson for this week, and I remember thinking this the first time I did it years ago. This is as perfect a Sunday school lesson for teenagers as Lifeway has ever made, as any Christian company has ever made for students. It is so good. It's so well done. Quite frankly, the subject material makes it super easy. This is one of my, if not my most favorite thing to teach from when it comes to the Old Testament. If I accidentally or even intentionally hijack one of your classes on Sunday morning, I'll just say sorry, not sorry. I love to teach this passage because it's so good. Uh, but the lesson is perfect the way they've done it. And so I don't have a lot to add to it today. Just a couple of cool things I think that are interesting, definitely are important for students. But if nothing else, again, maybe just something you'll get a kick out of hearing. The first thing that we've got to emphasize, definitely take the students to Hebrews 11, verses 17 through 19. Understand we don't know who wrote the book of Hebrews. But the things that they write about Abraham, even though they're not recorded perfectly in the Old Testament, we know that's from the oral tradition, and we know that's what they knew about Abraham. Um, Abraham totally trusted God in this scenario. Doesn't mean that it was easy. In fact, it was probably terribly hard for him. I have no doubt when he was holding the knife up, he was shaking. I have no doubt that when God said, I want you to go and lay your son down and sacrifice him, I have no doubt that Abraham said, are you sure? Right? But the scriptures just show us immediate obedience, no hesitation whatsoever. The only time that we ever say any hesitation, it's not really hesitation, it's right before they jump off the donkeys and they go to lead up the mountain. He tells his servants to stay back and says, no, you guys stay here. We're going to go up the hill to worship. But notice that key phrase, we'll be back. Abraham completely trusted God to make this situation right. He was going to obey, but he knew God was going to show up. So emphasize that with the students. Abraham was full of faith, but help them understand faith is not an emotion. It's not something that we feel. In fact, faith is often the actions that we take despite how we feel. There's any number of things that God tells us to be obedient about that are not fun. In fact, they're quite painful and hard and scary. But just like courage isn't the absence of fear, it's being willing to do something despite the fact that you're afraid. Faith is the willingness to obey God even though you don't feel like it, even though you're honestly not sure how it's going to turn out, but you're willing to obey God anyway. This is what Abraham did. Abraham obeyed God, and we learned several times throughout not just this story, but over Abraham's life. Abraham believed God, and God counted it to him as righteousness. The way that he proved that he believed God, though, was by obeying, whether it was leaving his hometown or being willing to sacrifice his son potentially. The other thing that I think is just pretty interesting about this passage, we know from church history that it was on Mount Moriah that Abraham offered up his son as a sacrifice. Now, why I say that's interesting is because Mount Moriah is outside of the city of Jerusalem. There is another hill on the outside of the city of Jerusalem that's pretty important to us as Christians. It's a mount called Golgotha, and that is where Jesus was, of course, sacrificed. And I bring that up only to say that it's more than just pretty cool. This is supposed to be a picture of the sacrifice that is coming, that Jesus is going to make for us someday. The substitutionary atonement for our sins was offered by Christ. And it was done on a mountain not too terribly far from where God called Abraham to make a sacrifice. And at the last moment, God offers up a ram so that the sacrifice could be made, a ram that only God could provide. Point that out to the students. Help them see that. Again, the point of this whole study is Jesus. We're helping the kids see Jesus throughout the scriptures. And Jesus is all over this one, y'all. Guys, I love y'all. Praying for you. Have a fantastic weekend, and I will see you on Sunday.